My wife and I, Patrice, were walking on the beach and saw those numbers in shells on the beach. And
you didn't do this, somebody else did this.
Yeah, somebody else did it. I said, I think it's a clever political message. And she said, you should take a picture of it. I said, sure. And then she said, you should Instagram that. And boom. They were talking about seashells at the beach that my wife and I stood over trying to understand what it was. And she said, yeah, that used to mean, it was a kitchen a phrase to say 86, meaning to get it off the menu. And I thought, well, that's a clever political message. What a clever way to express a political view. The shells were the same color for each of the letters, so different colors for the letters. It took a lot of work. Somebody with artistic flair did that.
As former FBI Director Jim Comey defending his post of 8647. Let's bring back in the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who suggested that should lead to Comey's arrest. Now, to that director, he has said that you are an example, therefore, of the unserious leadership right now in this country. Here, I'd love you to listen to him directly in his own words.
I hope people know enough about that particular person that they understand where it's coming from. It says something more depressing about the leadership of our current administration. And I just shrug because that's ridiculous.
Does it make you scared?
No.
Why?
Well, it's not my first rodeo. It's one of the real problems we have in this country right now is the use of the president's power aiming at individuals who don't have my background or experience. This is a real problem that people should not look past. My thing, to me, and I hope to everybody else, is just a distraction that goes away in a weekend.
Director, what's your reaction to Comey?
Oh, man, where to start? When you look at James Comey and he talks about his own experience and his own knowledge and how terrible it is that we don't have him or people like him in the government now, let's go back and look at how he played a direct role in the weaponization of government against the American people and against Donald Trump. Let's look at his experience. For him, number one, let me just say this as a woman, for any man to blame, pin the blame on this on his wife, like, give me a break. Why don't you just own it yourself? Second of all, a person of his experience that he claims is so great that MSNBC and CNN have and continue to laud James Comey as this expert law enforcement man, yet he doesn't know what 86 means when he prosecuted gangsters and mobsters and people in the mafia throughout his entire career. Anybody who watches one of these old mobster movies knows and understands very directly what 86 means when referring to a person, not a dish on a menu in a restaurant. So what I get from James Comey is, and why I said what I said, and I know that the Secret Service is investigating this, but why I said what I said is when you have a person of his stature that in this country has been lauded as a man who represents fairness and integrity and the rule of law, posting something that is a call to get rid of our president, the 47th president of the United States, Donald Trump, you imagine the kind of impact that has. And again, you go back to the fact that Donald Trump has had 2 assassination attempts on his life. You have others within James Comey's cohort who call President Trump today's modern-day Hitler, that he's a Nazi, that he is a direct and existential threat to our country and the American people. We should not be surprised that this president has had 2 assassination attempts on his life, and why James Comey's post should be taken very seriously. And I know that the Secret Service is doing exactly that.
A few years ago, Director, before you were in your current position, you and I met in the middle of the night in Maui after those devastating fires. It's something that's both near and dear to both of our hearts. In fact, here's what it was a few years ago when we met. Several acquaintances and friends, famous surfer Kai Lenny, and some just average citizens as well here on Maui who have all stepped up where they've seen gaps in the response. I'm talking about people flying helicopters and planes from here to the west side, boats. I know one of my friends is running his boat, the Gemini, from Maui Harbor back to the west side. People are stepping up.
It's really incredible how during this time of need, the aloha spirit really shines through. This is a completely community-driven effort. They are helping each other. They are not, unfortunately, seeing that support coming from the government yet.
Director, one of the questions I get the most often is people want an update from me, and I owe it to both the people of Lahaina and to the viewer to give them an update, but I have you here today. What do you know about how things are being rebuilt in Lahaina?
Yeah, Will, I just can't thank you enough for bringing this to the forefront, because just as happened then at that time as you and I, just a few days after those fires completely destroyed the town of Lahaina, as you're seeing there on the screen, ended up taking the lives of over at least 102 people, destroyed over 2,200 homes, causing $7.7 billion in damage. This is in August of 2023. And you fast forward to where we are today, people continue to be frustrated and feel as though they have been left behind and forgotten. Where we are today now, there have been only 6 homes that have been rebuilt of over those 2,200 that were destroyed by this fire. Rent prices have gone up over 44% from the time of those Lahaina fires to today. So many families, unfortunately, have been driven to have to leave their beautiful home and many of their friends and family behind me because they just can't afford it. There are government grants that are providing some housing, both state and federal, some transitional housing for folks. But when you imagine that people have to pay their mortgages for the houses that they had destroyed in many cases and continue to try to afford the high cost of living that exists in Hawaii, that's only gone up dramatically since that period of time, a lot of families have been faced with an impossible choice and decision. There's so much more to be done there. There's not nearly enough support to try to fix that damage. Regulation is getting in the way of a lot of it. And so I just ask everyone to continue to keep the people of Lahaina and West Maui in their prayers and in their hearts and offer that support.
And as we do for those as well in Los Angeles and North Carolina,
Absolutely.
all Americans, that we do not forget after these natural disasters. So, Director Gabbard, thank you for spending so much time with us today. I say this not with a laugh, but with a little bit of a twinkle in my eye. Next time we do this, I'm not going to let you go without talking to you about aliens, and I'm serious. You have a new post, and you have new information. So
Just
the
stand
next
in
half
line,
hour
my
we
friend.
spend together, we're going to dig in. All right, thank you, Director Gabbard.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.